Eagle drive, 3rd and 8. Wentz, Jalen Reagor. Wentz 0 for 4 on Philly's first 2 drives. Second quarter, no score, 2nd and 14. Wentz on the sideline. Jalen Hurts in the game. Hurts' first snap, complete to Alshon Jeffrey. And then Wentz is coming back in and Hurts is going to the bench. Someone will have to explain what that was about. Next play, 3rd and 8. Wentz back to throw. Wentz going down hard. Wentz hit repeatedly in this game. That's a loss of 6. Eagles no first downs on their first 5 drives. Later in the second, still no score. But Russell Wilson is doing something about that. DK Metcalf, 52 yards down to the 1-yard line. Metcalf playing with a chip on his shoulder against a team that passed on him in the draft a couple of years ago. And then sets up this. Wilson, David Moore for the touchdown in the corner, and the Seahawks take a 7-0 lead. Next Seattle drive. It's 2nd and goal. And they can do it on the ground. Chris Carson is back, and he's better than ever, bullying his way into the end zone for a score. And Seattle, a 14-0 lead with 5 minutes and change left in the half. Now, Eagles trying to get something going in the red zone. 2nd and goal. Final seconds. Wentz. Dallas Goedert. Yes, they're on the board. 3-yard touchdown. 14-6. Extra point no good, so that's your score at halftime. 4th quarter now. It's 17-9. Eagles going for it on a 4th and 2. Wentz. That's broken up. K.J. Wright knocks it down. Eagles turn it over on downs. So Seattle gets it. And what do they do with it? You know what they do. Russell, DK. Oh, what a catch. Going up and bringing it down. 10 grabs, 177 yards for DK Metcalf. To kick a field goal is 20-9. Ensuing Philly drive. 3 chances to score. First down from the 21. Wentz, Goddard, nobody home. 2nd down. Wentz, Reagor, incomplete. They gain 6 on 3rd down. They go for it on 4th down. Again, bear in mind, they're down by 11 in the game. Wentz, I don't know what that is, picked off. Carson Wentz, 215 yards, 6 sacks. Seattle wins 23-17, and they do the fly, Eagle fly on the road.
Some things we just missed. We didn't execute. I can be better early in the games. I think they made some plays early and did some things differently than what we had planned, but the slow starts are frustrating. That's the biggest thing. I'm going to go back and watch and see how we can change that.
It's not about one guy. We had breakdowns across the board, and it doesn't really matter, who's back there. The mistakes were still going to be made, and something we got to fix.
All right, so look, it has been just a season to forget for Carson Wentz. After the game last night, he's now the first player since Paul McDonald on the '84 Browns to have 15 interceptions and 45 sacks taken through the first 11 games of a season. And that just is scratching the surface. And so, again, here's the crew, Graziano and Jeff and Greg McElroy. And, Jeff, let me just start with you. As you watch this, people will put so much at the foot of the quarterback because he's a big star and he has the huge contract. As you watch them play, how much of it is about the quarterback to you?
A ton is about Carson Wentz. Listen, when you think about it, you heard Doug Peterson say, hey, it's not all on him. That's true. But you have to look no further than the other side last night at Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? Listen, in 2017, he led the league in touchdowns with no receivers. We're going to make excuses about receivers can't get separation. Well, you have a franchise quarterback. What does that mean, Greeny? That means that guy's got to get you 3 to 4 wins a year, and Wentz is not getting that done. I understand protection issues. I understand receiving issues, all of those things come to forefront. But the bottom line is, look at Russell Wilson. He didn't have protection. He didn't have receivers. He had Kearse, Richardson, Lockett, Baldwin. Like, they used to make fun of his receiving core, and he's leading the league. So when you're talking about what Carson Wentz can do himself, he has to play better. I understand it's not a one-man show, but he's got to be better.
No, that's fair. Look, the great quarterbacks tend to put a lot of people's kids through private school by turning them into better players than they may otherwise be. And right now, Carson Wentz doesn't seem to be doing that. And Greg, I know you put together some tape to show us what is and what isn't working for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, he's tentative, guys. He's hesitant to pull the trigger. And I know the blame, it really needs to be spread beyond Carson Wentz. But, guys, he's leaving too many plays on the field. It's as simple as that. I mean, early in the game specifically, Here it is, little RPO, piece of cake. Hey, this is a get-you-started throw. Like, no problem, let's get him into a rhythm. Jeff Saturday completes that through his legs. That's how accurate he was. All right, how about this? Weak side safety bites on the heavy play action. Carson Wentz reads it perfectly, but he hitches twice. There's no reason to hitch twice. Hitch once, put some air under it, let your receiver run underneath it. And this one is simple as it gets. It's seam to seam, to the comeback route outside, to the back on the check down. All right, you got 1A to the left, who's open. You got 1B to the right, who's open. You have 2 to the sideline, who's not open. And then you have 3, who's open. You literally could have thrown it anywhere except for where you did, and it would have resulted in a completion. He's not seeing the field very well. And when he does see the field properly, he doesn't throw it very accurately. Even some of his completions are off target, throwing at guys' ankles and knees. So he's got to pick it up, but he is certainly not the only problem with this Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Clearly, and sometimes you watch it and you wonder how much of this has gotten into his head, and then all of a sudden they're running the other quarterback out onto the field yesterday. I mean, Jeff, how would you describe what they did with Jalen Hurts last night?
Absolute waste of time. I mean, how can you describe it any other way? You're going to run them out there, throw a pass, or run them back. Like there's nothing being built by doing that. You're not getting the player better. You're not getting Carson Wentz better, and you're dang sure not getting your offense better by running a guy out, letting him play a couple snaps a game. That's not developing a quarterback. That's not developing. If you're going to send him in with a game plan. Like, what are we going to do with Jalen Hurts to improve our offense? What can he do differently than Carson Wentz to give us a spark? None of that showed last night. Absolute waste of time.
Yeah, I was looking for the change of pace, and it didn't really feel like a change of pace. It was just a change of personnel. And, Greg, you were making an analogy in our meeting this morning that certainly rang a bell with me, and I think people will remember.
It rang a bell with me too, Greeny. 2012, there was a team coming off really 2 out of the last 3 years. They had gone to the AFC Championship game. That's the New York Jets, and they had a young quarterback that was pretty successful, relatively speaking, in his first 2 years in Mark Sanchez. And then they go ahead and they bring in a guy like Tim Tebow. And all they did by bringing in Tim Tebow was undermine Mark Sanchez at that point, because Tim Tebow, as a fan favorite, they wanted to see him on the field. So they'd sprinkle him in a little bit, 1 or 2 plays a game, and then Mark started to play poorly, started to search a little bit, started to lose his confidence. And next thing you know, the boos and all the negativity got a little bit louder, and what's a difficult market to have success. So I think by playing Jalen the way they did in last night's game actually undermines the quarterback position, especially for a guy that's searching a little bit on a team that's struggling offensively.
So let me go to my insider here, and Dan Graziano. And Dan, you have pointed out repeatedly that no matter how frustrated anyone is with Carson Wentz, he's not going anywhere. The contract dictates that. But that may not be the case for the coach. Is he suddenly sitting on a hot seat?
Yeah, Greeny, I don't think we can sit here on December 1st and say with confidence that Doug Peterson is safe. I think it sounds ridiculous given that he won the Super Bowl 3 years ago and it was the first one in Eagles history, and you would think you could dine out in Philadelphia a little longer than 3 years on something like that. But go back to the beginning of the season, all the injuries, all the issues that were going on with the Eagles. What you heard was there's a lot of pressure on the quarterback and a lot of pressure on the coach to help guide them through this, and neither one has done the job. Carson Wentz has played poorly, seems to have regressed, and Peterson's decisions are not working out. And what's worse than that is look at the Jalen Hurts example. There doesn't seem to be any consistency of message or vision in terms of what they're trying to accomplish there. If you're a player on that team or a fan of that team or work in the front office at that team, you want to be able to look at Doug Peterson and say, what are you doing here? And have him have an answer. And it just doesn't seem like he has one. So things are turning ugly there in Philly. They're going to need one of those patented big Doug Peterson Decembers to turn this around, or else this chatter is only going to get louder.
Yep, there is still some time for them in this season, but right now it looks awfully bad. That's where we begin this morning. Still, as we roll on here.